Hi, welcome.
Hi.
Hello.
And welcome to the Customer Data Platform Talk. Why are we here today? Oh?
Let's start with a story. So back in the day, we had cornerstone shops, right? And they, in Germany, were always run by someone like Aunt Emma. And Aunt Emma knew her customers extremely well, right? She knew their kids, their names, the kids' names, the birthdays. She knew when to make recommendations for new products they didn't know yet. She was truly customer-centric. But in our world today, it's a lot more, everything is a lot more complex. But still, we need to be customer-centric, right? So in order to do that, we need to gather data, but we also need technology to communicate with our customers in a customer-centric way. And for me, that is why we're here.
Fantastic. Marcel?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me here. I think this is a fantastic place to be. DEPT Agency Berlin. Thank you very much one more time.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Well, I think we all have our own story, why we're here, why we're in the business actually. My personal story starts actually with it's a bit of a car story. I won't tell the name. I'm not interested in lawsuits. Some time ago, this was actually before this terrible pandemic, I was searching around in the internet, was interested in buying a car. And I encountered on this website, which was actually pretty good, I encountered a configurator and tried to figure out, well, what can I do to get the car which I want to? And first of all, it seemed awesome. It was a bit of an immersive experience involved as well. But after like 2 or 3 minutes, I was absolutely frustrated. And this frustration actually reflected itself in my perception of this particular brand. And I think these times have shown that the brand is actually very much reflected in how companies treat their customer, potential customers, how much they know their customers, and that was just absolutely not given at all. So I'm still a little bit disappointed, quite obviously. Still don't have a car, not planning to get one. That's happens quite a lot in Berlin, obviously. But I think brands need to really take care of how to put the customer, the potential customer, the visitor of their site in the center of attention. And that's my personal motive. This is why I'm in the business. This is why I'm a big fan of customer data platforms. This is why I'm actually a big fan of digital experience platform, our own, by the way.
Certainly. Perfect.
Why are you here?
Why am I here? Multiple experiences. I think the one that stuck with me most was 2 emails I got just a few days apart from 2 of my favorite platforms for crowdfunding, Kickstarter and Indiegogo. And I buy a lot on these platforms. It's like new products, it's cool products. I mostly buy gadgets and tech. You know me, I'm a gadget freak. A lot for cooking as well. So I get 2 different email newsletters from them. Kickstarter sends me a newsletter for a lunar eclipse in California. They send me something about Ai Weiwei's art. I'm like, I don't know, it's not really relevant for me. Indiegogo sends me just a list of cool projects and products that are very much relevant to me, very much adjacent to what I love to do. Business travel, well, that was pre-pandemic. A little bit of outdoor stuff and gadgets. And it's full of the cool stuff. The Kickstarter newsletter, I don't open it all anymore. It's like, no thanks. They have all this information about me, not using it. The Indiegogo one, I wait for it every Monday. It is seriously cool. They get a lot of my money. Not too happy about that. But yeah, that's my motivation. Make it relevant, just do good stuff. Do stuff that for your customers that they actually like, that they find relevant, that they want to consume. Not just push it on them. Cool. Now, before we go further into this, maybe we'll do a quick round of introductions. Now people know why we're here. Yeah. Maybe they should also know who we are.
Maybe ladies first.
Thank you. I'm Carolin Bornholdt. I've been working within the customer management, customer experience field for the past 10 years already. First with a consulting company, then for a customer engagement platform, and currently at DEPT as a digital agency.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and me? Well, I'm Marcel. I'm heading the DXP business for the company called Optimisely, so your partner Optimisely, and the DXP business for the DACH region in particular. Joined the company 4 years ago, more or less, and I actually come from a digital agency background. Sometimes very important to actually get to understand what the project looks like, from the first thought of a project then to the actual execution. It's an interesting job. It's challenging at times, but it's a hell of fun. It's a great company, by the way.
Fantastic, thanks. And I'm Marc. I'm part of the data team here in Berlin. Cool. Before we start with the more in-depth discussions, I think there's a couple of people out there that still have a very different perception, different definition of customer data platform, CDPs. Why don't we try to get it all onto one joint definition, at least for this talk here, that we know what we're talking about, that we know that we have this foundation. What's a CDP? Do you want to start?
Yes, sure. Well, obviously, a customer data platform, it all starts with the customer. The journey continues with the data. And the platform is basically the place where all the things happen, so the single point of truth. This is my understanding of a customer data platform. In particular, well, as you probably know, Optimisely have its own customer data platform called Optimisely Data Platform, by the way, embedded in its solution. And what we basically do is, or what the solution does, is get the understanding of the customer, of the visitor of the site along the entire customer journey. I'll speak a little bit about the DXP as such in a minute, obviously, but three parts: collect data, harmonize data from different sources, and then actually get the intelligence out of it and act. This is how we proceed. This is how we understand our Optimisely data platform. It's the foundation of it.
So basically what you're saying is you take all these data silos, bring them together, you have this 360-degree view of the customer. We hear that a lot. I know it's a buzzword, but it still helps to visualize it. And then there's these two parts that we always hear about CDPs, right? There's the analytical CDP and there's the engagement CDP. The analytical part is what you call the intelligence, right? Is the better information about the customers, the users, a better understanding of who is there, why are they there, and what are they going to do. So this thing about how can we make better decisions. And then there's the engagement part. And that engagement part is, and I think this is a really cool way of saying it, it's the orchestration of every interaction that we have within that customer journey. It's still abstract, very much so, but we'll get to that with a few more use cases to make it less abstract, to get more into what are the concrete things you can do with a customer data platform. Carol, you had a few use cases that I thought were extremely interesting in the prep. And we sort of split it up here in this group of various parts of the businesses, the industries, but also in parts of the customer journey. Do you want to go ahead and tell us a little bit about what are your use cases that you love in the customer data platform area?
Yeah, definitely. So what I always like to look at is the customer life cycle, right? Companies spend a lot of money on opening up the funnel, getting customers in. But once someone becomes a customer, we sort of send them a weekly newsletter oftentimes and then sort of feel we're done. So that's what I want to focus on with a few examples. So, when you meet someone for the first time in real life, you have a short introduction like we had today, just a few minutes ago. In the digital world, this could be a welcome cycle. This is really something that I think every company should have in some way. And there are so many things you can do. You could obviously incentivize a first purchase. That's a fairly easy one, could fit your business, may not fit your business. You can also provide great content that you've gathered within your company, or you can take a service approach and make sure people know where to find you when they have a question regarding the product that they bought or the service that they bought. And what I think makes sense is to really test out what works in terms of content, but also in terms of timing, in terms of how many messages, how many touch points do you want to create, what channels would actually work for you, what time between the different touch points. So there are really a lot of things that you can test and that you can play around with to make it really, really good and really, really cool. I think the great thing about the welcome cycle is that anyone can do it with the minimal setup, and you can enhance it and make it cooler as you go along. Another thing, so we've opened up the door, we've let people into the funnel, they've converted, and now we want to close the door and keep customers, right? So we want to look at churn prevention next. So let's take an example of an insurance company. You know, a customer has a contract and it prolongs every year until the customer cancels the contract. And what a lot of companies still do to date is they have a customer service team that call these customers who canceled their contracts. And an idea to make that more efficient and inexpensive could be to use less expensive channels first as a start. So let's think about email, but also in-app push to try to regain customers' trust, get them back. And if, you know, maybe even send a reminder. And if the customer then didn't react and didn't convert, then we can still send a list to the customer service team, but we've maybe collected a few of people in a less expensive and also in a less intrusive way first, which may be what your customers are looking for.
It's a better customer experience in this case.
It may be for some, yes, exactly.
Why did you quit?
Exactly, that may not be the first thing you want. Yeah. And then also let's look at retention. So there are so many things we can do between the time that a customer purchases and the next purchase, right? And sometimes this period can be really long. I mean, think of cars, for example, since you had that example. I mean, how often do you buy a car? That's an extremely long cycle between purchases. And there are a lot of things that you can do. One thing that I think is really important is if you have a complaint customer, for example, that happens, things go wrong. But do you turn off marketing messages? Do you make sure that someone who just complained doesn't get a marketing email, a sales email an hour later? It's a bit of an oops moment. Other things that you can think of, if you're, for example, in cosmetics, you can think of replenishment campaigns. If you're, you know, you can think about user-generated content. You know, have your users generate really cool stuff for you on social platforms and then spread the word about it. So there are, or if you're a travel agency or within the travel business, you can think about blogs that you share around and have people, you know, just think about how you become the go-to within your industry so that when people are actually ready to buy, they come back. And you can only do that with technology, obviously.
Because you can make the first steps without it, but as soon as it becomes more complex, as the segments become smaller, you need that technology in order to not have 300,000 people just doing the hacking of making that work, right?
Exactly, yeah. And you need to orchestrate all the channels. You need to make sure that everything runs smoothly and you don't have that fragmented experience of a sort of a multiple personality within a company, right? So,
True.
yeah.
I have a fairly simpler example, actually. A customer of ours is called Stio. Stio is a higher, it's a bit like the North Face. It's a brand from the US, and they had one particular topic, one particular problem back in the day. So it's like, I think it's 2 or 3 years ago, actually. They launched a new new product line of children's clothing, and it didn't go well. So lack of revenue, lack of awareness, all of that. So they were thinking about, shall we continue to invest in this particular product line, or shall we do something else? So what they've done, they obviously got the Optimising data platform, so the customer data platform as such, and they made a little bit of research. And the interesting thing is they found out that it's actually a fantastic conversion rate. You know, I checked the conversion rates, figured out whenever customers do find this particular product, they actually buy it. So, but the thing that was missing was visibility and relevance, and this made the ODP obvious, so to say. So instead of canceling this particular product line, they've actually targeted, or they made it more visible. They had targeted campaigns, and they made something about this visibility issue. Fantastic example, for instance. There's another B2B or B2C example. Sorry, a B2C example, a little bit more sophisticated, so to say. So we have a customer who's actually using the ODP for all sorts of things, you know, putting different clients or customers into segments, measuring the relevance, checking out the returns, for instance. Where's the customer coming from? Where is he going to? Why is that particular person not buying? Why is it buying? And then get actually actionable insights out of that. And I think that's one of the most important ingredients of a CDP as well, getting insights, getting tangible insights, getting action points, action items. What should I do? And this is why we have this particular technology in place, by the way. Yeah.
Something very interesting about Stio for me was, for many people, CDPs are very much around the retention part, the loyalty part on the CRM side. What you mentioned is on the acquisition side, right? It's not just a CDP covers the customer, and hence everything in that journey from that very first acquisition of a lead up until they churn or hopefully don't churn. I think this is a very important point also when it comes to use cases, that we see CDPs as an integral part of not just of a channel, but as a whole thing. And that's why many of these use cases are actually connected to the customer. You mentioned B2B earlier. I think also for some companies it's about, is a CDP really for B2B? And I think B2B is one of the best areas where you can find like fantastic use cases. Imagine getting an ideal customer profile, not from a team of 5 people that just came up with it on a board, but like you said, from actual data, from cluster analysis, from regression analysis, etc. And really finding out who are the real people that work for us. And by bringing all these data sources together in the CDP, we can also say, we don't just have revenue data, we have cost data. And so we can find out which customers are profitable, find out what patterns are responsible for that, who are these companies, even people within the B2B context, then find them, like you said, in the acquisition part, but then also make sure that within the life cycle that we have, find out where are they in this life cycle. I think this is like what you said earlier. It's brilliant to find out they're at the very front of the life cycle. What do you do at the front of the life cycle? You don't send them, hey, here's a proposal. You send them a little bit of content maybe as a test, as a hypothesis. Hypothesis is early on, make them happy about the brand, make them excited, get them excited about the product, about the brand, not about converting right away. That's later. And by doing that, by seeing the journey, seeing where people are, and hopefully sometime soon, using a little bit of machine learning, I know, another buzzword, but I love that buzzword, it's a really good one, figuring out what can we do? Predictively, what can we do? Not just look back, but also look forward. What can we do with that specific person? What is relevant for that person now that would make the customer experience better? And I think all these use cases together cover everything within that customer journey concept. That brings us to a very important question, I think, for the audience. Who should be using a CDP? Who is it for? Who's a relevant person to talk to? What do you guys think? Is it just large corporates in the automotive sector? Is it the Tante Emma Laden, the corner shop? Who do you think it's for?
Well, I personally think it's for everyone. It's for everyone. But these things always start with a bit of a culture. You must want it. You must understand that this is important. That customer centricity is important. And one of the most relevant ways to get insight, to get this actually sorted, is the CDP. Put differently, again, I think it's for everyone. No restrictions.
Whether big, whether small, people can use it.
Exactly. I think it's extremely important, though, when you look at the CDP. This is our personal take at Optimisely. I think a CDP must be just like the entire solution of ours. That this is where we put our focus on. Work with clicks rather than code. I think
that's a good one.
gone are the days when you always see a developer to actually make simple changes or to create a customer experience that makes sense on the other end. And this is what we think is extremely important. Enable the marketer, enable the business user to create outsized outcomes. super important.
Yeah, maybe one more thought. Just because you're a small company doesn't mean your environment is less complex, right? So even for small companies with different channels, with a high, very many customers, I think it still makes sense to have technology support their marketing initiatives.
And the automation part scales, right? You don't need 4, 5, 6 people in your marketing department to take care of the CDP. You need half a person sometimes to do, not the ultra complex machine learning stuff.
Exactly. I mean,
And this is where no code comes in, right?
Exactly. Yeah. This is where no code comes in. I quite frankly think that the idea, the concept behind the CDP is really for everyone. So collect data, make sure you convert big data into smart data, and do something with it. This is the new oil. Fantastic metaphor, which I usually use with customers. So use your new oil. Use your data. Convert big data into smart data and do something with it. Super important.
And unlike oil, data doesn't run out. It gets more and more.
Indeed. Yeah.
So everyone can benefit from it. Now we know who is it for. We know a few of the use cases. Now it's time to see how to get started. What are the first things that we need to do? Do we just go to you and say, hey, we need the whole ODP, we need the whole DXP, here's some money, get started? What do we do?
Yeah, I personally think it all starts with a plan. It all starts with a plan. I think this is what I can actually tell you. We have customers and customers, we have prospects and prospects. I think it really all starts with a plan. Get an idea of what you actually want to achieve. What is your plan? Get your team in place. Get a team lead who's actually orchestrating the evaluation process. Another thing super important is get executive leadership support. Get an endorsement. Make sure you stick to milestones, make decisions rather than just evaluating. You can evaluate CDPs or other solutions, DXPs, day in, day out. This can potentially never stop, but it's super important to have concrete milestones. We'll have a plan, have milestones, and have the courage to make the decision for one particular platform.
Yeah. And I think what I have really good experience with is when you make a plan, also think about all the different departments that touch a customer, get all of them together and get buy-in from them. Because if you want to have a true customer-centric organization, you need everyone together and aligned that touches the customer, right? And all together, when these people come together, they have so many ideas of use cases, of things, cool things that you can implement. If you brainstorm all that, it creates really good energy. It gives you so much to do, to fill your roadmap with. And then if you do it together, you align on the roadmap, you align on the timings of what you want to do within that platform and for your customer. And then at the same time, you need to be agile enough for changes. And then change the plan if you have to.
Because you follow the data. Right?
Because you follow the data, exactly. Yeah.
But then you don't just break up data silos, you also break up structural, organizational silos, right?
And you need to.
Yeah. Customers don't care what your internal processes and structures are. They want to get what they need the relevant stuff at the right time. And they don't care that your marketing team doesn't talk to your sales team, or your customer service team doesn't talk to the on-site team. They don't care. It's supposed to work.
Exactly.
This is why it's not just a technical problem, it's a procedural problem, it's a methodological problem, and it's an organizational problem.
Very well put.
Challenge.
Exactly.
Sorry, not a problem, there's no problems.
I think one more thing that's also important, I think, is having an attitude of test and fail, or a test and learn culture in the organization. There's no such thing as the truth. It's always somewhere in the middle. When you make technology evaluations, for instance, make a decision and accept that you will not have the super 100% solution in place. It's never going to happen. But make sure that you dare to fail, that you have the courage to decide, make a decision, and get started. Or what's the Nike phrase? Just do it.
Right now, in Corona times, don't do it. I love that slogan, sorry, that was really good. Just do it, yeah. Get started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Are there easy ways to get started? Are there easy things that we can do without having to bring everybody together? I mean, it seems like a huge feat. And making a plan, yeah, love it. But aren't there things that we can do that are a little smaller that help us guide the way towards getting everybody together? Maybe gathering small tests and gathering the data so that we can go to everyone and say, hey, this is how this usually works. And this is how we had the initial test. We have a little lighthouse, and it showed 32% uplift in conversion rate, 25% uplift in retention. Is there something that you think we can do just to make a small test? Because you test and fail, fantastic.
Yeah.
Can we do something before we go into evaluation, into bring all these parts of the organization together? Is there something small that we can do?
Yeah, I think I have a fantastic example for this one. Back in the days, I used to work, as mentioned, for a digital agency, and we had a customer in the broadcasting atmosphere, so to say. And what we've been doing, or what the company's been doing back then, was actually speaking to their customers, speaking to the customer, speaking to the audience. What's important to you? It might not be representative data, really not, but it gives you an idea of how important it actually is to understand who you work for.
You mean pick up the phone and call someone?
Yeah, some people
Oh,
don't
that's
do that.
strange.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. Fantastic. All right, almost out of time. We started with, there's huge technological changes. CDP is one of them. The question was, is it the silver bullet? Is it that one thing that will change everything and that will give us the one-stop shop, that one solution that'll just make all of our problems go away? Is it a silver bullet?
Ladies first. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I mean, I already stressed how it's really important to get the organization aligned. Technology can only go so far. And if you don't use it correctly, if you don't have a plan, if you don't think about what you can do for your customer, then it's just going to sit there, or parts of it are just going to sit there. So I think you really have to think about, what do you want to do? Start doing something, see how it works, go to the next thing, and get your organization ready to use it.
So it's a cultural thing. You need the proper culture, the proper mindset within the company.
And the training thing, oftentimes. You need to make sure that people can actually work with what they have. But that's a smaller topic. But truly the cultural topic is a bigger one that needs to be tackled.
You mentioned this earlier.
I did. The culture is super important. What do they say? Culture eats technology for breakfast, or something like that. It's super important. Well, I don't believe in silver bullets per se. Well, that's quite obvious, I guess. What I do believe in is customer centricity, and this must be super clear to the people that actually think of, well, let's make a change, let's make a technological change. Who are we doing it for? Is the process of an evaluation once more, is it customer dissatisfaction driven, or is it is it employee dissatisfaction driven, or is it about the customer at the end of the day? So this is, by the way, what we call our platform. It's a customer-centric digital experience platform. It's a long terminology, but it actually hits the nail on its head. It is about putting the customer in the center of attention. But again, it's not a silver bullet. The journey starts somewhere else. It starts right inside the organizations. It starts with the people. And sometimes it's really not about technology. It's about soft facts inside the organizations.
If you're a bad shooter, a silver bullet will not help you at all.
True.
Perfect. Thank you very much. This was brilliant. This was very insightful. If you guys have any questions, shoot them over, put them in the chat right here. And thanks.